It's the women in basketball talk. Let's go. Shot calling, the shots falling. My crossover leaves the ops crawling. The fans are in awe cause my handles are awesome. If you don't think I'm ballin', then hand me the ball then. Her story will make history. Watch the long shot hit the three, guaranteed victory. You might wanna stick with me, headed for the goal. If you roll, set a pick for me. It's the women in basketball talk. Tune in, all facts, no cap. We could talk about stats. It's the women in basketball talk. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, yeah.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of Let's Talk Women in Basketball podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Porty. On today's episode, we're going to discuss WNBA trades. Do super teams help or hurt the WNBA? And later, we're going to chop it up with Las Vegas Aces assistant and player development coach, Tyler Marsh. There are some familiar faces and new places around the WNBA. Like every offseason, teams look to rebuild their roster in hopes of building a championship team. Player movement around the WNBA consists of two-time WNBA champion, four-time WNBA All-Star, and two-time Olympic gold medalist Breanna Stewart signing with the New York Liberty. She'll be joined by the 2021 WNBA MVP and four-time WNBA All-Star Jonquel Jones, who got traded from the Connecticut Sun. Two-time Olympic gold medalist Candace Parker signed with the 2022 WNBA champions, the Las Vegas Aces. She will be joined by her former teammate Chelsea Gray and WNBA All-Stars Aja Wilson, Kelsey Plum, and Jackie Young. In other WNBA trade news, the Dallas Wings trade their guard Alicia Gray to Atlanta. The Las Vegas Aces moved their two-time All-Star De'Erica Hamby in the 2024 first-round draft pick to the Los Angeles Sparks in exchange for Amanda Zoe and the Los Angeles Sparks 2024 second-round draft pick. The Los Angeles Sparks also picked up Jasmine Thomas from Connecticut, and the Connecticut Sun received Jasmine Walker, Kiana Smith, and Olivia Nelson-Ododa. The New York Liberty moved Rebecca Allen and Natasha Howard to the Connecticut Sun and Dallas Wings. The Dallas Wings sent Kayla Thornton and Tyasha Harris to New York and Connecticut and received Crystal Danderfield. The Connecticut Sun also received the New York Liberty number 6 2023 draft pick. Lastly, three-time WNBA All-Star Danielle Robinson joins the Atlanta Dreams, while Christy Wallace moved to the Indiana Fever. The WNBA has two super teams, and this has fans wondering, does building a super team hurt the competition of the WNBA, or does it propel the league? The New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces have some of the most top-tier WNBA players on their roster. The New York Liberty added two-time WNBA champion and former MVP Breanna Stewart, WNBA champion and four-time All-Star Courtney Vandersloot, and 2021 MVP Jonquel Jones to the roster. The Las Vegas Aces added two-time MVP Candace Parker. Mind you, the Las Vegas Aces roster is already filled with 4 WNBA All-Stars. The New York Liberty and the Aces combined have 7 of the 10 All-Star starters from last season, and 6 out of the 10 members of the WNBA All-WNBA team. With so many All-Stars on 2 teams in the WNBA, it makes you wonder, do other WNBA teams have the ability to compete with the Aces and the Liberty? Contrary to super teams being detrimental to the WNBA competitions, others believe too many All-Stars on one team may not work for some teams if the team chemistry isn't there. Not sure how all of this is going to play out, but if you ask me who's going to win this year's WNBA Finals, I got my bet on the New York Liberty or the Las Vegas Aces. In our next segment, we're going to be joined by the Las Vegas Aces assistant and player development coach, Tyler Marsh. So stay tuned.
This is Tyler Marsh of the Las Vegas Aces, and you're listening to the Let's Talk Women in Basketball podcast.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Women in Basketball podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Porty. Right now, we are joined by a guy who has the best basketball intelligence in the game of coaching and player development. In 2019, he helped the Toronto Raptors win their first NBA title. And in 2022, he won a WNBA championship as assistant coach for the Las Vegas Aces. Please welcome Tyler Marsh to Let's Talk Women in Basketball podcast. Hi, Tyler. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, why did you decide to become a coach?
Well, coaching is kind of in my blood. My dad has been a college basketball coach for my entire life. He's coached at a bunch of different places at both the Division III level and the Division I level. So I got to see a lot of coaching, a lot of basketball growing up. And I wasn't always sure that I wanted to go down the path of coaching. I thought I wanted to get in the front office because I really love the everything that it takes to go into building a team and forming a roster and whatnot. But my first opportunity into professional basketball was in the NBA G League. It was a developmental league at the time. Back in 2012 was my first year. And from that point on, I've been riding the wave of coaching. I love being hands-on with the players. I love the developmental process of it. And so that's kind of led me to where I am now. So it's a perfect blend between my passion for people and my passion for basketball. Is Coaching kind of encompasses both of those things. So,
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about your coaching journey? I know you mentioned you coach at the G League, but you also coach, I believe, for the Indiana Pacers and the Las Vegas Aces. So can you talk more about your journey?
Sure. Like I said, I started in the G League. I was a player development coach with the Rio Grande Valley Vipers, who they're the development league team of the Houston Rockets. So my first year was there, and I was working under the head coach was Nick Nurse at the time, who's now the head coach of the Toronto Raptors. And so that's how that relationship started with me. But I spent 4 years coaching in the G League. I spent a year coaching at a prep school in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was called Standard of Excellence Academy. It's a postgraduate school. It's not around anymore, but that was a great year for me. And then I spent a year coaching Division I basketball at Alabama A&M University.
Okay.
I spent 2 years, including that championship year with Toronto. So 2018, 2019, and 2019, 2020 with Toronto. I was a assistant video coordinator as well as a player development coach there. And then I spent 2 years as an assistant coach with the Indiana Pacers from 2020-21 season to 2021-22 season. And it was during that year where a mutual friend of myself and Coach Hammond, her name is Jenny Buchek. She's currently an assistant coach with the Pacers. And she was a longtime WNBA coach as well. So she had a really good relationship with Coach Hammond, and me and Jenny created our own great relationship. And so that's how I met Becky. And it was during that last NBA season where we met, and we just kind of talked really surface level, just kind of get to know each other as people. And then when the ball started to get rolling on her end as far as the Aces went, she reached out and asked if I had any interest. And from the kind of relationship that we started and the connection that we had and the things that we discussed outside of basketball is really what kind of brought us together. And so I thought it was a great situation to join her and to continue my coaching career in the WNBA and especially in Vegas. And the organization that we're a part of here and the team that we were able to lead us to a championship, it was an amazing year. I'm extremely grateful for Coach Hammond, but also these players and the organization as a whole.
How was your transition from the NBA to the WNBA?
It was a good transition. It was, the people who you work with and for make all the difference. And I had some great mentors and some great coworkers that I worked with and around in the NBA and here in Las Vegas. It's an amazing atmosphere to be a part of. The players make it worthwhile each and every day. They make the game fun. We really know when to toe that line of when to joke around and have fun, and then when to kind of lock in and take everything seriously. So we have a really good environment that we've been able to be part of and help continue to build. And our players have fully bought in. Our ownership and our management is fully involved and fully locked in as well. So when everyone's on the same page and there's one common goal, really two common goals of treating people well and winning, it's a great atmosphere to be around. So that transition has been awesome, and the play on the court speaks for itself. Like we have some amazing basketball players, not just in our league, but specifically on our team as well.
Yeah. You played a huge part in Jackie Young's improvement behind the three-point arch. How are you able to enhance her shooting behind the three-point line?
Yeah, I think that, most of the credit goes to Jackie. She, the work ethic that she puts in is amazing. And we have a team full of hard workers. She's right there at the top of the list in terms of her willingness to want to get better. And so it really doesn't matter what kind of things I could bring to the table. If she doesn't have buy-in, if she doesn't have the work ethic to kind of put it into use, then it's all for naught. So it's a huge credit to her. But it started very foundational. We tried to just focus on keeping the ball on one side of her body and not having a whole lot of extra movements to create more fluidity in her shot. And so it really started one of our first days meeting, and I just kind of told her what I saw and asked her what she thinks about it. And as a player development coach, I'm very big on player feedback because they're the ones that know their body and their game the best. So I try to make it very interactive. And so I don't ever want to put a player in a position where they're extremely uncomfortable with what they're doing. So over this past year, we've created a really tight bond and a good communication of trust between the two. And so that's really how it started. It's just working our way from, in close to the basket, making sure our fundamentals is correct. And then we just take steps backwards. And once it got to the point where she was feeling comfortable in that short to mid-range game, then we stretched it out to 3. And, hopefully we can continue to see some more improvements moving forward.
Yes. What do your in-season and off-season workout plans consist of?
It's very specific to the player. So I create these at the end of each season. I create these postseason kind of evaluations of what I've seen from a player development standpoint, and I try to go over with them with each player and get their thoughts on the parts of their games that they feel like they want to improve in and how it can fall into what we do as a team offensively and defensively. And so the workouts are kind of tailored to the player. Everybody's off-season plan and routine and regimen isn't the same. You have some players who go overseas right after the season, so their off-season workouts look a little different than those who don't go overseas that may have a little bit more time to, own in on those specific skills. But it's more skill specific as opposed to and individually as opposed to team specified like it is during the season. During the season, you want the workouts to be kind of more team inclusive because that's where you build that chemistry as the games come. But the off season is kind of the time where you're able to own in on those individual parts of your game. And so that's kind of what we focus on.
I really thought that Becky Hammon would get the head coaching position for the Portland Trailblazers. When do you honestly think women will get the opportunity to become a head coach in the NBA?
I'm not sure. I think it's probably closer than we all think. I think that, Coach Hammond can coach with the best of them at any level. And I've been blessed to be around championship coaches, and the things that she brings to the table, her mind for the game, not just as a coach, but bringing her experience as a player is second to none. Her relatability to our players is second to none. And so she's I know if and when that time ever comes, she would be ready. At the same time, if she was here on this call, she would tell you that she's not really looking forward to what's next for her. She's enjoying where she's at now.
Yeah.
Where our main focus is trying to repeat from this past year. So, and we got a championship team in place to do so. So, she loves where she's at. She loves the Aces in Las Vegas, and we got a great thing going. So I don't think she's in any hurry to get up out of here.
The Los Angeles Sparks and the Houston Comets are the only two teams to win back-to-back titles in the WNBA. What is it going to take for the Las Vegas Aces to win back-to-back titles?
I think it's approaching it with the same mindset that we came into this past year, which is nothing's going to be given. Like we're not going to win next year's championship because we won this year's championship. You know, we have to come in with the mindset that everybody's going to be hunting for us, and we want to still be one of the hunters as well. So we are still got a chip on our shoulder. We still got things to prove, both individually and as a team. And so I think just creating the mindset of kind of starting at ground zero and building our way back up to where we were and where we finished the season this past year is going to be crucial to how we approach this championship season, hopefully.
You mentioned earlier that you coached for the Indiana Pacers. I know that you also were a huge fan of the Indiana Pacers growing up. So did you ever think in your lifetime that you would get the opportunity to work for the Indiana Pacers organization?
Never. It's kind of weird because I grew up moving kind of all over the place just because my dad was a coach. So I never really had that home base team that you can say that you grew up a fan of because you grew up in that city. So I started liking individual players, and I was a big Reggie Miller fan. And that's kind of how I started liking the Pacers and back in the mid 90s. And so no, I never thought that I'd be working for them in any capacity. And in 2016, I was able to be an assistant for their G League team at the time in Fort Wayne. And I thought that was as good as it got. You know, I enjoyed that year as much as anybody and was super grateful for that opportunity. And then in 2020, when the opportunity came to work for the NBA team, it was a dream come true. Honestly, it never felt like just coming to work, but it was really like living a dream, something that you dream about as a kid, working for the team that you grew up loving. So that's a memory, those 2 years. Although the wins and losses, could have been better, the experience that I gained from it and the relationships that I formed while I was there is something that can't be taken away. So I'll be grateful for that.
What advice would you give to someone who dream of coaching professionally?
I think it's to never be above doing the little things, and not to be in a rush to get to that next spot. I think that sometimes we get caught up in where we want to be, that we lose track of being in the moment and being present into where we are and doing the job that is needed to be done right then and there. And so you have to embrace every opportunity in the role that you have, and then that'll lead you to the next situation and the next opportunity. So I think being committed and loyal and locked into where you're currently at, be planted at where you are, and then your steps moving forward will be taken care of from there.
Well, thank you so much, Tyler, for joining Let's Talk Women in Basketball podcast. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing what the Aces bring to the table this season.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. That's it for today's episode of Let's Talk Women in Basketball. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, Let's Talk Women in Basketball. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Let's Talk Women in Basketball. Catch you next time.